What's up, Domino community? My name is Lily Hevish, and today I'll be teaching you how to make a SONIMOD line turn into a domino line. So get your dominoes and let's start building. So I'm going to teach you 4 different ways you can make a SONIMOD line go back into a domino line. Now these techniques cover basically any angle that you would want to have the domino line come off the SONIMOD line. The domino line could come off the SONIMOD line in the same direction or in the opposite direction or from the side. This video is going to give you an overview of all of your options, and then you can choose the best technique for your personal project. Alright, so let's get started. Now the first one I'm going to show you is what I'm going to call the 180-degree trigger from SONIMOD to domino line. So basically, the domino line is going to come off of the SONIMOD line in the opposite direction. First, we're going to start out by making the SONIMOD line. We're going to put the horizontal domino here first, and then again, we just make a chain of SONIMOD by placing them on the edge of the previous domino. Alright, so now that you've made your SONIMOD line, now we can make the domino switch in the opposite direction. So the SONIMOD line is going to start this way, and the domino line is going to fall in the opposite direction. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 2 dominoes, I'm going to place this orange domino flat on the ground, and then I'm going to place this blue domino right next to it so they're touching, and then slowly tip the blue domino so it leans on the last green domino. Now this blue domino is leaning quite a bit. I wouldn't say it's 45 degrees, but it's a little bit less than that if you compare it to a vertically standing domino, for example. Just make sure that when you place the blue domino, it's perfectly 90 degrees from the green domino. This orange domino here is just acting as a weight to keep this blue domino in place. And now what we can do is make the domino line. So I'm going to take some more dominoes, and I'm going to put a domino right in front of this blue domino. Notice though, this pink domino is not touching the green domino. There's a little bit of space in between it. I'm going to place this next domino right in front of it. I would say the spacing is about 1 domino thickness apart, maybe a little bit more than that. And I'm just going to lean this first domino on the second domino like so. Sometimes it helps if these pink dominoes are actually a little bit closer to the blue leaning domino. So I'm just going to move it in slightly like this. So you see there's a little bit of a gap in between the blue and the pink. And now that we have that, we can start building the domino line and just continue it. And you can have this line be a straight domino line, or if you want, you can curve it. So that's how you make the 180-degree trigger from SONIMOD to domino line. I'm just gonna build a start right here. Let's knock it down. 3, 2, 1, go. That was solid. So if we watch this in slow motion, the SONIMOD line falls, which then knocks down the blue domino once the green domino falls, and then it hits the leaning dominoes and knocks down the entire domino line. So that's how to make the 180-degree trigger. Now we're gonna move on to the 90-degree trigger. So again, we're just gonna make a simple SONIMOD line. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take 2 dominoes, we're gonna place them on the side of the last 2 SONIMODs and leave a little bit more than 1 domino thickness of space in between the 2 dominoes. Now you'll notice that these orange dominoes are a little bit offset from the middle. They're a little bit closer to the higher end of these blue dominoes. And then we're gonna place 2 flat dominoes right next to it behind the orange dominoes. So similarly to the previous trick, these flat dominoes are just to make sure that these orange dominoes don't slide out away from the SONIMOD line. Now you can just carefully lean the orange dominoes on the SONIMOD line, like so. And when you make this trick, definitely do some tests ahead of time, because depending on your dominoes and your floor surface, you might need to angle these dominoes a little bit further or a little bit less. The risk is if you angle it too much, the vibration of you walking on the floor could be enough to set this off early. But if you don't lean the domino enough, it's possible that it might not tip into the domino line. So do some tests, find that sweet spot for whatever works for you, and then once it's reliable, do it in a real project. But for now, this looks pretty good. I'm gonna keep building. We can now place the domino in front of the orange domino on the opposite side of the SONIMOD line. So these orange dominoes aren't in line with the pink dominoes. I've just left a little bit of a gap in between the SONIMOD line so they're not touching. And then again, we're gonna place another domino in front of the pink domino, leaving a little bit more more than one domino thickness of a gap, and we're going to carefully lean the domino like so. Having these leaning dominoes allows the domino line to fall easier because it doesn't need as much force to knock it down. It's already like on the edge of the tipping point. Once we have that, we're just going to continue the domino line, except we're going to move the dominoes inwards just slightly like this, and then we can make it go back to a double line and then a single line. All right, so that is the first technique for the 90-degree trigger from SONIMOD line to domino line. Let's knock this down. 3, 2, 1, go. That was flawless. Let's analyze this clip. So the SONIMOD line falls, and the orange dominoes, which are already leaning on the SONIMOD, fall over in the proper direction. The green domino sort of catches the orange domino so it doesn't slide too much on the ground, and the orange domino knocks down the blue, which knocks down the pink dominoes and goes back to a domino line. Perfect. Now, if you build on a floor surface that has a lot of grip, like cork or even foam, you might not need this extra green domino on the ground. There might be enough friction between the floor and the domino that you don't need that. But for slippery floors and wooden floors, I definitely recommend putting the safety domino here, just in case, because you don't want this orange domino to just like go like that and not actually topple the SONIMOD line or the domino line. So just be aware of that. The next technique that I'll show you is very similar to this one, but it uses a little less dominoes. So this is an alternate way to make a 90-degree trigger from SONIMOD to domino line. Again, we're just gonna make the SONIMOD line. Now, instead of leaning a domino on the SONIMOD line itself, we're gonna place 2 flat dominoes underneath the SONIMOD line. In these gaps, we're just gonna place the domino right here. Now, just make sure that they're overlapping with the orange domino and the green domino. Now, you wanna make sure that these green dominoes are fully underneath the orange domino, because when the orange domino falls, we want it to make contact with the green domino, which will make it lean and push towards the domino line coming off of it. So now that we have that, I'm gonna start making the domino line that comes off of the SONIMOD line. So this is exactly the same as the previous technique. We're just going to place these 2 dominoes here, making sure that there's a little bit more than 1 domino thickness of a gap, and then carefully lean the domino. Now that we have the leaning dominoes, we can make it go back to a single domino line, just like the previous technique. So I'm gonna shift over the dominoes and then go back to 2 dominoes here, and then 1. I'll build the starting line as well. Now, before we knock it down, I do wanna say there is one advantage to using this technique rather than the previous technique, and that's because with this, there's no leaning domino on the SONIMOD line. If you have a very creaky floor or it's not super stable, there is a risk that it could fall over by accident if you have a leaning domino on that SONIMOD line like the previous technique. But with this one, there's no domino. We're just using the flat dominoes underneath, so the SONIMOD won't be touched by anything. It shouldn't knock over by accident even if you walk around it, and it uses 2 less dominoes. Again, do some tests, see which one works best for you. With this technique, you just want to make sure that there is a bit of a gap in between the SONIMOD line and the domino coming off of it. All right, let's topple it. 3, 2, 1, go. Nice. So let's play this back in slow motion. First, the SONIMOD line falls, and then the last 2 dominoes fall on top of the green dominoes, which then makes them lean into the blue dominoes. That's interesting. You'll see that the orange domino here fully fell into the blue domino, but this orange domino didn't, which tells me that I probably could have made a larger gap in between the SONIMOD line and the first blue domino here. Allowing more space for that orange domino to completely tip over could be beneficial. So when you're making this trick, again, do some tests, do what works for you. I do think this technique is slightly less reliable than the previous one, but maybe you can figure out a way to make it more reliable for you and then choose the best one for whatever project that you're working on. All right, let's move on to the last technique. Now I'm gonna call this the 0-degree trigger because when the domino line comes off of the SONIMOD line, it doesn't change angle, it just goes in the same direction as the original SONIMOD line. We're gonna first start off again by building a SONIMOD line. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna place a horizontal domino perpendicular to the SONIMOD line, and then we're going to place the SONIMOD line on top, just like that, so it's kind of resting on this green domino. Now I'm gonna place a normal standing domino about 2 centimeters away from the green domino, and then place another one. This is about 1 domino thickness or a little bit more than that, and I'm going to slowly and carefully lean the domino on the next. So now we can put a flat domino on top of everything, but I actually need to shift this over because it's too far away. So I'm just gonna move it carefully in like this. We want this orange domino to cover the entire width of the blue dominoes and have a little bit on the pink domino too. This seems to be a good spot for that. And now that we have this orange domino on top, we can actually move this leaning domino out a little bit more so that there's more force on this standing domino. Moving this angled domino out a little bit further is going to make it more reliable when this orange domino falls, because then there's going to be more of a chance that this blue domino is going to topple in the proper direction. So once we have that, we can just continue the domino line and then make the starting line, and there we go. So when the SONIMOD line falls, the domino will go in the same direction. This is really useful if you want it to just continue in a line and you don't want it to like branch off sideways and have to snake around again. That's when I would use this trick. Let's topple it. 3, 2, 1, go. Perfect. So if we watch this in slow motion, the SONIMOD falls, and then that triggers the orange domino to also fall, which goes into the leaning blue dominoes, and then it knocks down the domino line. So those are the 4 different techniques to go from a SONIMOD line to a domino line. Now some of these are going to be more useful for different projects if you want it to go in a certain direction. Maybe you want the 0 degree trick or the 180 degree trick. Whatever you're doing, these are really cool tricks and ways to use them. If you would like to suggest another domino tutorial, you can go to hevish5.com/get involved and submit your idea there. And of course, if you ever need dominoes, I recommend my very own H5 domino creations. These are made in collaboration with Spin Master, and they are the highest quality dominoes. These are precision engineered and manufactured specifically for building and toppling. So go pick up a set on Amazon or Walmart. Check out the links in the description. I want to give a shout out to our featured community member, HY Domino, who has been making some incredible domino videos, and I'm seriously super impressed by these. So well done. Go subscribe to their channel. And as always, I'm Lily Hevish, and keep on building.